Hello, good morning to anyone watching this video. Cheers. Right, so as I not long got up just now, something came to mind, and I believe wholeheartedly that dementia, or Alzheimer's on a whole for that matter, isn't actually what people think that it is. In other words, people claim that it's a disease or an illness, when to some extent, it could be treated or classed as an illness and a disease, even for that matter, if it's left untreated. And but realistically speaking, to those that have a relationship commitment with God the Father through His Son Jesus Christ via the Holy Spirit, it's not a disease, it's not an illness. So, you could potentially stop us in the street and ask us a question about something that we did earlier on today, or something that we did yesterday, whether it be a meal that we ate, a drink that we drank, a person that we met up with, a song that we listened to, a film that we watched, a book that we read. It could be anything, as trivial like that. And a lot of the time we would genuinely forget. And sometimes you may even catch us on a sharp day. We might have access to that memory like it happened right in front of your eyes, as if it happened there and then. It is what it is. When we experience memory loss, I believe that it's the brain currently healing from one's past life. I'm referring to the physical life, my life, that is, before my spiritual awakening. And in other words, I experience, this is going to sound crazy to many, I experience out-of-body experiences. So in other words, physically I'm there within your presence, but spiritually there's no one home. You're talking to an empty meat bag, you're talking to a bag of bones, you're talking to a vessel, a temple, that is it. And then other days you could be talking to someone, that happens to be switched on in here and in here. It is what it is. It's all luck of the draw, I guess, although I don't believe in luck myself. It's just a farce, if you ask me. It's irrelevant. In other words, we are traveling spiritually, that is, within our own minds and our own hearts sometimes. So much so that we completely, what's the word I'm looking for? Lose ourselves in that particular moment, which in turn will genuinely lead to forgetfulness or memory loss. It could be 101 different reasons. It could be, like I said, our soul is traveling faster than the speed of light and it's currently preparing even our life for when we physically die. Under God's command and authority, via the presence of the Lord. So I want to, remove this stigma on dementia and Alzheimer's. Is it a disease and is it an illness? To some extent, yes. Especially if the person isn't born again and they are genuinely cold-hearted. They don't have a relationship commitment with God through His Son, Jesus Christ. In other words, they're soulless. They value doing evil rather than abiding by the Bible, the biblical manuscripts, as you will. Which, like I said, in turn can result to soul death, spiritual death even. But when people are abiding by the Bible, they tend to be switched on in here and in here. Not always, because like I said, it's like we're between, or should I say, we are within two worlds, essentially. We're within the physical world now with everybody else. But yet, we are within our own world, in here and in here, that is. So it's like we're living a completely different life to everybody else. And also dementia and Alzheimer's could be linked to old age as well. It happens to people that grow old fast, It is what it is. So I don't believe for 1 minute that it's the equivalent to brain death or brain damage like a lot of people claim. That couldn't be any further from the truth. Like I said, I believe it's our soul traveling, gathering information, because that's all we are. Amidst all of this, in here and in here, we're light, we are souls, and we are sometimes, like I said, if not all the time, time traveling within our own timeline. Henceforth, or should I say, hence the reason as to why we can pump out so much more information than the average person and their tiny little brains, In other words, we have a brain and a heart bigger than the universe and space themselves, and if you were to combine the two together, that would be the equivalent to unlimited information, unlimited access, should one say, to information, where essentially our brain can filter out what is merely man-made, and in other words, a load of codswallop. In other words, biblical manuscripts, or should I say biblical manuscript doesn't, prove it to be true, therefore we can discern it. And some information we can take and absorb, from the atmosphere, and it turns out that we can filter it. And it turns out to be true, because there is biblical evidence to support it. So, I guess I'm sharing this video to awaken people to the truth. And that truth being dementia and Alzheimer's isn't always what people claim it to be. And what I mean by that is it's not a disease. and it's most definitely not an illness. It can be, however, like I said, if it's left untreated and that person, or that particular said person, doesn't have a relationship with God through his Son, Jesus Christ, via the Holy Spirit. In other words, they have a hard heart. Their love has waxed cold, and they are genuinely soulless. In other words, they wouldn't know how to unconditionally love another being if it jumped up in their face and bit the nose off, because they are essentially degenerates. They are, to some extent, reprobates, and God hates and despises reprobates. So people, stop with the stigma, man. Quit with the mental health stigma. There's no need. And I believe, like I said, if people looked further into it and found out the spiritual terms behind it all, then you would actually get some closure, and some truth on it, to say the least, like I have just now. In other words, like I said before I wrap this video up, some days we're spiritually there, we're home, in here and in here, and we can remember things like that as if they happened the very moment you asked that question. That's how sharp our memory can be. And then other days, we can genuinely forget things, I guess it all comes down to the person as well, and the questions and how they're being asked, whether they're meant within a malicious manner, whether they're meant to be used for exploitation later on down the line. That's when we tend to drift off, and escape the comments, or should I say the questions being asked. And there you have it, folks. So, like I said, quit with the stigma. It's not cool. There's too much of it going around, to put it frankly, and it just, it needs to stop. It needs to stop. In other words, people lean upon their own understanding rather than, apply the gospel to their life. And if they applied the gospel to their life, they would know that it is a spiritual warfare. And I have nothing to worry about, like I said, because, pardon what? I've got a long-lasting, healthy life waiting ahead of me. 123 years to be exact. Probably less than that, 122 plus. And within God's divine timing, and by his miracle alone, I will have around 8, no more than 12 people within my life, my circle, that I actually in fact can trust, and lay down my life for, as well as happily grow old with, I guess it could also be linked to pride and ego death, because us chosen, it is an ongoing process. Like I said, we are essentially dying to the self. We are dying. It's like, I guess it's like dying physically, It comes across that way, or it may, to those new, to the spiritual awakening, it may feel as though they are genuinely dying physically, but essentially, in other words, we're already dying, you know, and, you know, if people play the cards right and, like I said, choose the right path in life, which is through Jesus Christ himself, you have two choices in life. You can choose to live a short life and die, or you can choose to live a long lasting healthy life and die slowly within the process. Because whether people want to believe it or not, it doesn't matter whether you're living a short life out of hate and sin, and it doesn't matter if you're living a long-lasting life. We are all dying. And sooner or later, it's going to catch up to us. But the question is, are you at peace with it? And are you willing to work with it, with whatever time you have left? Or are you going to be a degenerative moron and live in hate and sin, and then cry, bitch and moan later on onto us realists that you threw under the bus, trying to convince us to save you when you are nowhere to be seen throughout our struggles, our moments of death? Nowhere. You were with your fake friends, kissing one another's asses for your degenerative, pathetic levels that you honestly thought you were climbing to by doing what you did onto us chosen, when little did each and every one of you know what God gives, he too can strip away. So essentially, one, it's wasted efforts, and two, you're left right at the bottom of the pile to fend for yourselves again. We're not going to help you. I mean, what do you bring to our table exactly? You know, do you bring anything of value? And I'm not referring to, oh, look at me, I'm this amazing child, you know, even in an adult's body. No, that's not going to, you know, cut it. It's not going to cut it. No, it's not going to cut it. I'm talking spiritual and psychological, baby. I'm talking spiritual and psychological, baby. What do you bring to our table? What? If you bring anything of value to our table, then by all means, come on down. You know, let's have a laugh. Let's have a little joke about it. Let's even have a coffee, you know. But like I said, if your value doesn't come anywhere close to what the Bible offers, I'm not interested. I am genuinely not interested, and I will continue to turn people down until the cows come home. And people are going to get it into their tiny little heads. There is no getting this golden ticket back. No matter how hard you claw, beg and plead, cry onto us in the attempt to get our attention, you know, it's not going to happen. You're left fending for yourselves. We live in a world where I believe wholeheartedly, it's a good drink, that in order to survive this dog-eat-dog world and live the life that we chose to live according to the Bible, rather than through the projections of other people that are trying to slow our lives down, or better yet, speed our life up to try and kill us faster. I believe, like I said, if people chose the same path where they got to grow old, evolve, and age like a fine wine, then they could too have that. But what I see in a lot of people, I don't let the physical fool me, you know. I'm talking about the flesh. I don't let the flesh fool me. I look through people's eyes, their hearts, and their minds. And all I see in many people are either scared little bitches, schoolgirls on their period, and I'm referring to the boys out there that have been feminised, as well as inner children within the boys, the men, and scared little boys within women. As well as children within women. I don't see one. Actually, that's, you know, a lie, I guess, to some extent. There may be a very, very, very small fraction of old souls out there like myself. But all I see a lot of the time, like I said, are either scared little bitches for boys, as well as children within boys, scared little boys within women, as well as children within women. I don't see any mature soul at all. Like I said, bar the small percentage that I may have come into contact with here and there from time to time. And there you have it, folks.